Welcome in, Big Blue Nation, to another episode of the Cats Talk podcast. I'm your host, Cameron Johnston, joined by my co-host, Jacob Boyers and Tyler Britton. Guys, Cats played in Athens this weekend. I think it all went just about how we all thought. Cats lose 35 to 14. And outside of Tyler and I being there in person, credentialed for this game, not much else went right for this Kentucky team outside of the passing game? Question mark? Passing game looking good? But guys, you guys have already had my thoughts on this game. Obviously, I'm gonna dive into it with you as well. But just want to get your two thoughts on what you saw Saturday between the hedges.
Yeah, it was really exciting to be there, Cam. I'll be honest, it was kind of interesting to watch the team play in reverse. It seemed like our passing game was being pretty efficient there. Cutter Boley had, I would say, a decent game. I don't want to say, he was all SEC or anything like that, but he finished the game with, what was it, 200 plus yards passing, 225 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. He had a QBR of 76.9. Some might say that he was playing better than Arch Manning. So, it's kind of impressive to see that. But overall, the team seemed like it was just hitting roadblock after roadblock. They're digging themselves in a hole. They seem like they're driving there at the end of the half, maybe to make it a 10-point game going into halftime, and then they missed that field goal there going into halftime. I think that really just ruined the momentum they had going for them. If they had anything going at all.
Yeah, and you talked about the passing game looking good. I thought it looked okay, but I would say compared to what we've seen the last 2 seasons, it's probably the best it's looked, at least here in this Bush-Hamden era, which I think tells a lot about the program in general. My big takeaways were just more of the same that we've kind of come to expect out of this team and coaching staff. I thought they would lose pretty bad. They did a decent job of keeping it close for, a half or whatever. But it's the same mistakes week after week. To your point, you finally get a decent little thing out of the passing game. You have horrific clock management at the end of the first half. You miss a field goal. Just a lot of the same stuff we've seen week over week and now year over year. And, the state of the program is a bigger conversation, but things aren't great here in the Bluegrass when it comes to football.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that this is about as checked out as this fan base has been in maybe, a decade, I think is what I would say. We were talking to a Georgia media member before the game, and he kind of asked us, what is this fan base thinking about this team? And I told him, this is the most this fan base has been checked out in about a decade. And it kind of showed itself. Tyler, you and I walked around Athens the night before the game. We saw maybe 2, 3 other people supporting the Cats wearing Kentucky stuff out there. Wasn't too much blue in the stands either. And you mentioned it, Jacob. It's just a lot of these things just seem to be a systemic thing that happens year after year. No matter what offensive coordinator there is, it seems like it starts at the top down. And I think we all know what I'm saying without saying it. But just to dive deeper into this game, you mentioned the passing game. I thought Cutter looked pretty good. The only part I have issue with Cutter Boley is, and this will come with time, this is something I kind of told you guys before he took over that starting job from Zach Calzada, and that's just a pocket presence. There's so many times in this game to where the offensive line will get credited with, giving up a sack, and it's really on Cutter or it's on this receiving core that's just not getting open out there. Other than that, I think Cutter played a great game, delivered some really good balls. And the one thing I really wanted to bring up was, so we already mentioned that going into halftime, the poor clock management. Jacob, we couldn't listen to the audio. I heard Jordan Palmer, who was announcing the game?
Jesse Palmer, Jordan Palmer.
Jordan Palmer was announcing the game, and he just ripped us for that clock management on the last drive. And, everybody in the press box is like looking around. What's taking so long? Like, why are we taking 40 seconds here? You have a catch that gets overturned from Willie Rodriguez there, which live, I don't know how they overturned it. I still don't know, even with all the angles that I saw as well. But then you go in there and you have a chance to kick 3. Cowboy's been amazing. He just completely shanks it. Now you go into halftime a little bit deflated. You don't get anything out of that good 2-minute drive. And then you come back out first drive, and the guy who's been the bell cow for this offense, and the only reason this offense has been able to move the football, Seth McGowan, fumbles, and now it just really feels like you can never get it going again. And the thing I wanted to touch on and bringing that up was, how in the world was Cutter Boley, the redshirt freshman, the only one on that team that was trying to get the offensive line to the ball and get it snapped? Nobody on the sideline was pressing him to get him going. And you looked at it, you can see Cutter clapping his hands, trying to get everybody going. I mean, we were maybe what, a quarter of a second, half a second away from getting that snapped and running another play. And at the least, I mean, the way Aiden LaRosse was punting at that point, you'd already had a first down, punt them, play the field position game for at least another drive. It's things like that that I mean, it's coming from the top down, and I don't know what you do to try and change it.
Yeah, I mean, you made a lot of good points there, Cam. So I'm going to try to hit on a bunch of them quickly. But yeah, I mean, how many times do we see it? Like this offense in general is just playing at a snail's pace, and there's no reason for it. And to your point, the fumble where Cutter's trying to get everybody going, like I'm sure everybody in the stadium felt it. I think even the announcers were talking about it. Like, you need to get up there and hike this football. And everybody's just standing around. Like, if it's remotely close, the call went in your favor. Get up there and hike it. It was the same thing we saw that catch earlier in the year. What was that? Was that week 1 against Toledo where we threw a bomb and then there's just no urgency ever with anything. And if like you kind of can feel it when Stoops talks even after the game, like there's almost like not an urgency with him to like try to get this thing corrected. Um, but back to the like fan base being the most checked out it's been in a long time. Like I'll tell on myself for a second and speak just from like personal experience. Saturday was the least I cared about a UK football game in a long time. I still watched every second of it. Well, I'm gonna again tell on myself. I was constantly found myself checking my phone, looking at Twitter, just scrolling endlessly, and then I would look up and be like, "Oh, okay, yep, this is where we're at." Like, it's a shame, but I had absolutely zero faith that they were going to, keep this game close. And the entire lead up to it, I had zero excitement about it. I was happy that you guys were there. I was checking out all the videos and stuff you were sending me. That was the coolest part about it. But the fact of like actually sitting and watching the game, zero excitement. Did not care one bit. And then again, watched it, but I think there's probably a lot more people like us kind of getting to that point, which is extremely disappointing. And then the last point I'll make: this is your second game on ABC where the whole nation's watching, and both times you have gotten absolutely ripped by the announcers. Like, announcers don't really rip on coaching staffs a lot throughout a game. I mean, I've watched plenty of games, and I mean, they might like question a decision here or there, but like to like flat out say like this is embarrassing or pathetic, like we heard in the Ole Miss and now Georgia game, due to clock management or other coaching decisions, like it is now at a broad scale across the nation of just how poorly coached this team is, and we are now the bottom of the SEC, and it's not even close.
Yeah, I mean, I was sitting there, boys, to that point. Like, I was kind of like that fan that we watched Georgia go down and score 2 touchdowns, and then I was like, okay, cool. They come back. Kentucky scores a touchdown and make it 7-14. Then they get the ball and they're trying to score, but right before half, it's like, man, they actually have a chance to make this a 11-point game. And then if they get the ball back, the way they've been moving the ball, maybe they start getting Seth involved. They go down, score a touchdown, 17-21. I was like, maybe we have a chance. Like, there was almost like a belief there at first, and then and to your point, it just between penalties, turnovers, clock management, it just seemed like it got ripped away right there at the first drive, and it was just very disappointing. I do want to say, from the receiver standpoint, I almost and want to get your guys' opinion with this too. It seemed like the receivers were getting more open and they're a little bit more organized, at least in the passing game from the receiving standpoint. Cameron Miller, I don't remember getting much action from him before, but he seemed like he was playing out. He was balling out there. I mean, only 3 catches. I would have the way he was playing the first half, especially. I felt like he was having a good game.
Yeah, it's funny that like real quick, Cam. Just it's funny that this was the week where the rumors came out that like they want to move on from Bush and all this because I know you only scored 14 points, but I thought
It was
not
his
only
best
was it
play
the
calling
best,
week.
yeah, it was the best play calling I've seen him do. Again, clock management, which I think comes down to the head coach, cost you potentially points at the end of the first half, and then a fumble. So I thought it was Bush's best play calling, at least there in that first half.
Yeah, and the weird thing I think about it with Bush Hampton is like I'll watch the game, and let's just say this Kentucky team gets 10 drives. On 8 of those drives, I'm usually fine with most of the play calling. But it's usually those 2 drives that come in critical situations. Like I'm going to mention one, our third drive after Jordan Lovett got that pick, we go pass, pass, pass. It includes Cutter missing Fred Ferrier. It was a catchable ball, but it was not a good ball by any means. Fred Ferrier doesn't come down with it, which we might have to have a Fred Ferrier conversation. He had 2 drops in this game. But I mean, pass, pass, pass after, I mean, you can run the ball. Even this game, with how good Georgia's running defense is, Seth McGowan still averaged 4 a carry, and this is at the time where he was getting more than that per carry. And then that very next drive, after you get another stop on Georgia, your defense is keeping you in the game. You go 3 plays, 7 yards, and you punt. That included back-to-back Dante Dowdell runs, which you guys know my feelings on Dante. He's got a time and a place to play for this team, but I told Tyler when it happened live, I agree with him getting that first carry because we're at the 1. Let's get us some breathing room. After that, I don't need to see Dante Dowdell until we get inside the 20. Other than that, I don't need to see him. And then it really just felt like after that, everything just started to go sideways. We mentioned that 2 minute drive with a missed field goal and then a fumble, and then you were just never really able to get it going again until you saw great plays from a true freshman in Cam Miller, like Tyler just alluded to. And it's got me sitting there thinking, like, we've been looking for guys this entire season. How is this his first run? How is it in Athens against Georgia? This is where he gets his first look. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I do agree with you, Cam. I think that the underutilization of Seth McGowan there, especially in the first half, I thought maybe it would pick up, and it kind of goes back to my point with if they would have kicked that field goal and then they would have gone down and they would have had a chance to go down the field to make it a 17-21 game. I think Seth would have been used a whole lot more in the second half, and I think that's kind of if I'm a betting man, I think that's what that second half was supposed to be, was a little bit more Seth McGowan balanced play call. Because what ended up happening is they didn't score that touchdown. Now they're still down 7-21 at half, and now they have to. They're forced to throw the ball the entire second half. Which, don't get me wrong, again, we talked about Cutter and the offense having a better pass game, but that's not going to be their style of play to win a game. We just like that it was finally balanced in a little bit more.
Yeah, and I mean, at least to that point, like Seth McGowan did leave the game shortly after that fumble. So I mean, I understand not trying the running game as much because Dante Dowdell had 7 carries for 9 yards. I don't care what defense you're going up against. Giving somebody 1.3 per carry, it's just, especially when we're a team that has to stay ahead of the sticks to be able to move and be a non-predictable offense. And this is the first time all season I don't think we've been a predictable offense. And yet it still didn't work out in favor for us. Tyler kind of just mentioned it to me before we started recording. Imagine telling me we throw for 30 more yards than Gunnar Stockton and Seth McGowan still averages 4 yards a carry. You get a couple turnovers. You get a receiver to catch a touchdown pass. You have big plays from your tight ends. All of this happens, and you still really aren't competitive in this game and lose by 3 scores.
Yeah, not even really in it for a second. And, that brings me to kind of another point of this team is like, this defense is just not very good.
It just depends on the unit, man. It depends on what unit you're talking.
We talked about it a lot, throughout the off season and then even like after the Toledo game and this and that. Like for this team to be successful, they had to run the football and play defense. And I just don't think any of it's there, to be honest. And, you mentioned Dowdell. I mean, he had what, 7 carries for less than 10 yards? Like, so I don't know. I think the whole team and the whole just the way this roster's built, for whatever reason, we're not even seeing them play the way we thought Stoops would want to play. I think there's so many issues other than we kind of talked about coming into this week of just quarterback. I think you saw it, like the passing game finally got going, and you were still never in a position to even threaten Georgia.
Yeah, Brett White after the game took ownership on the play of the defense. He said that this game's on him. I was looking at the scores, and I'm starting to get a little concerned about this defense. This what's supposed to be an all-world Mark Stoops defense, year after year. You're starting to look at the scores here and what they're allowing. We let up we let up 16 against Toledo. Okay, we let up 30 against Ole Miss, 23. Although some of that probably in chump change against Eastern Michigan. 35 against South Carolina and now 35 against Georgia. I mean, the competition is only going to get better. I kind of get worried a little bit of going into Texas here, or Texas coming to us, and how Texas is going to play with us, because Arch Manning hasn't looked great, but I don't know if our defense is going to continue that trend, or if we're going to help Arch Manning look like the caliber quarterback that everybody expected him to be.
Yeah, I mean,
You
you
know,
mentioned Brad White there, and the difference between I think this defense and even last year, as opposed to a lot of prior Brad White defenses, is we gave up yards, but we turned those yards into allowing a field goal attempt, and we turned those yards into making an opportunistic turnover. That's what we turned that into. Right now, you're not seeing that. We're getting some of those turnovers, but we also just, and Brad White mentioned it post game. We have the press conference up on our YouTube. We just don't tackle. We can't tackle. Nobody on this team outside of this defensive front can make an open field tackle, and it's concerning. I mean, you see, we were great on first down in this game. Great on first down. Second down, I think they were averaging like 7 yards a play on second down, which is just crazy. You get them into, second and long, and you're thinking, okay, we can feel good about this. They throw a quick out, and then JQ misses a tackle. Jordan Lovett misses a tackle. Alex Afari misses a tackle. I mean, outside of this defensive front, which I think has been amazing, we had 6 sacks in this game, which is not going to be talked about nearly enough. I think this defensive line is tremendous. But what we thought was going to be the strength in JQ Hardaway, I'll put the hand is skyrocket up here. It's up here. That's my bad. I gave you guys 2 bold predictions this offseason. One was that Seth McGowan was going to be great. So I'm 1 for 2. But man, JQ is really making me look bad right now because he has not been the all SEC corner that I thought he was going to be. I don't know how much of that is because, DJ Waller's not on the other side and it's making his job a little bit tougher, but he has just not lived up to what I thought he was going to be this year.
we thought he would be the Maxwell Harrison replacement, and hasn't been anywhere close. But to your point, Cam, it does feel like we're either giving up a touchdown or we're somehow getting an interception where QB just makes a bad throw. That's essentially it for this defense. But like Georgia also went 6 for 7 on third down in the first half.
They were so good on third down.
Like that's part of like Brad White's defense is like, hey, yeah, we might give up some yards on first and second down, but when we get you in 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, like we're gonna come and get the stop. Like that's what every successful defense was kind of built on, and then hold them to a field goal or a punt or whatever. But like we're just not doing it, and it's to your point of like the tackling is so bad out of these, out of everybody in the secondary, especially, and even a lot of times it feels like even the linebackers are missing tackles. So I don't see a recipe for either offensively or defensively for like this team to get better.
Yeah, and the weird thing that I'll say about that is it seems like one week I go in and I think, oh man, Alex Afari is really starting to play well.
Yeah,
And then the next week he does the exact opposite. And then David Rayner, the same thing. I told Tyler, I was like, man, it feels like he's all over the place in this game. Where was this last week? I didn't see this last week from him. I mean, he almost got replaced by Landon Watson at some point during that game. Just usually that's what you see in bad teams. It's just there's no consistency week in to week out. And that's something that Cutter alluded to post game. He's just like, every drive, there's one thing that shoots us in the foot. It's either Cutter overthrows somebody, we drop a pass, we
fumble.
penalty, fumble. There's always something, a missed kick, and that's usually what bad teams do. And until we can get those corrected, this team is going to be a bad team. And unfortunately, we've mentioned it almost every podcast. I don't trust the staff to make those decisions to make this team better.
Well, that was the point I was about to make. Like you talk about the inconsistency of certain guys. Just look at the inconsistency from the coaching staff. I mean, we're talking about this being Bush Hampton's possibly, best called game. And then you look at kind of what we did at South Carolina or, so on and so forth. And we've seen it with Brad White at times in the past, year and a half, where it's one game the defense is clicking and playing to the style and level that we're expecting, and then other times we're left scratching our head about play calling decisions. So I think the inconsistency is not just the players; it's the staff all around.
Yeah,
It's
I
a,
completely
Go
agree.
ahead.
Go for it.
I was going to say, I mean, do you guys think that? So was listening to ESPN the other day. They're talking about the NFL level, about when their defense is really good, but then your offense really stinks. Like, at what point do you check out? Do you guys think it's similar with the college ranks here, especially with this team? Because I saw a little bit last year. I felt like we saw a little bit last year, especially when it comes to players like Deion Walker and a few others. But maybe later down the road in the season, once you start losing a couple games, that these defensive players start checking out a little bit, specifically if they have any kind of aspirations playing on the next level. Maybe they're making a little bit more business decisions versus actually trying to play the game at a high level. Like we know some of them can do, and we thought they were going to be doing. Just, and at least in my eyes, it seems like they've checked out a lot since the first couple weeks of the season.
I'll say, like, I don't think any of them it'll be quote unquote a business decision, because they'll be looking at their next, trying to get an NFL contract. But I mean, I just think I would say it's probably a completely natural feeling when you come off a 4-8 season. Anybody that was here a year ago, and then now you're pretty much doing it again, and you're on pace to win 3 or 4 games. I mean, I'm not going to say any of these guys have quit yet. I don't believe that. I don't really believe, outside of a few players last year, that people really quit. But like, if you go lose, Auburn, Florida, and Vandy after losing Texas and Tennessee, and you're not going to win an SEC game this year, I could 100% seeing a lot of the guys on the team checking out, or maybe even checking out before they get to that Vandy and Florida game, because I think once this team realizes, like, they're not going to make a bowl, like, I don't know, I feel like it would be hard to get up and play every week. You'd probably start seeing a lot of the young guys play more, but I think it's natural, and I think it's something that very well could happen, and that's where coaching comes into play. Like you saw with Florida last year, like Billy Napier was dead to rights. Everybody had him keyed as getting fired. He somehow got his players to not quit on him, and they rallied around him, and he was able to get an extra year on his contract. We'll see, if Stoops can kind of rally these guys when the things go completely off the rails, because we are heading for this thing to go completely off the rails.
Yeah, see, I think that argument that you brought up, Tyler, I think that rings true a lot last year when you were facing teams like Georgia and you only give up 13 points and you lose and you're constantly on the field. I don't think that has any bearing this year because, I mean, let's just go game by game. First game of the season, this defense gives up over 300 yards to Toledo. Second game of the season, they give up over 450 yards to Ole Miss. Third game of the season against Eastern Michigan, they give up 330 passing yards on 130 rushing yards. Against South Carolina is probably the best this defense played in the entire season, which make sense. You're going up against the best quarterback you face, and now that
you gave them a short field a handful of times too.
Yeah,
so
I mean, they didn't
not
have
a
to
ton
move
of yards to go get.
that
Yeah.
far, but I mean, even there, they still had 330 yards in that game, and then this week against Georgia, 245 through the air and 183 passing. So you're looking at over 400 yards again. I don't think that rings true, at least with this defense, because this defense has not shown us anything. I mean, right? You talked about earlier how much we're allowing per game, just points wise. If people on this defense are checking out, I mean, there's maybe David Gusta is probably the only one that could check out and probably still get drafted at this point in time. So, I mean, these guys better not be checked out because their draft stock's on the line at the least. And really, I mean, just at some point, you got to play for pride. Giving up 400 yards a game and being a laughing stock of the SEC should get you motivated enough to show up and play. And a lot of these games, it's not as bad as last year, the time of possession difference. Last year was a big problem. This year, it's not as big of a problem. It still is one. But this defense is not like they're on the field all the time. And really, a lot of the reason they're on the field all the time is because, like Jake mentioned, they were, 8 for 12 on third down in this game? They were 67%. And that's after getting them. I mean, that's what I don't understand. How are you so good on first down when they have the entire arsenal of what they can do to throw at you? So good on first down. And then second down, you're just giving up gash plays after gash plays. And Brad White mentioned those leaky yards, allowing an offensive guy to fall for an extra yard or two. Those really start to stack up throughout the entire game. And I think you see that because outside of the defensive front, I mean, I don't really trust anybody to come up and make a tackle and lay a hit, especially.
Yeah, and I mean, real quick, like, to be real, like, you talked about, like, the numbers, and, like, this Georgia game might have been their best game numbers-wise. Like, it felt like Kirby was doing Mark Stoops a favor this whole game because, like, I mean, if they wanted to, like, Kirby could have went out there and laid the hammer and dropped 50 on us, and we
I
lose
mean,
this
the
game
backup
50 to
quarterback was
14.
in the third quarter, so
Yeah, like that was Kirby doing his boy a favor because like this could have been a whole lot worse.
yeah, and that talks about a garbage time touchdown at the end of the game that gets you within three scores. That talks about Cameron Miller having to put on a absolute display on that last drive to get you down there. I mean, that's what we've got to take forward. At the least, the big thing that I can come out of this game with saying is, all right, we've got at least a semblance of what this passing game should look like week in and week out. Now you've got a full 2 weeks, which we've all talked about it plenty of times. Whether that's good or not for this team, I don't know. You've got 2 weeks to get ready and dial up a plan for Texas. It looks like Bush is sticking around, even though the rumor mill was swirling around Sunday and going into Monday.
Gotcha.
You just have to, yeah, gotcha. You just have to get something going with Cutter Boley. I mean, he showed promise. It's the best I think he's looked. Cameron Miller, a young guy, showed promise in this game. And then somebody I don't think we've talked about enough, CJ Works, Cedric Works. I told Tyler, I was like, hey, man, he's getting into the game early. I think it was the second drive in which he was playing outside linebacker. He has 2 tackles for loss in this game as a true freshman. I mean, this defensive front is deep. This defensive front is loaded. They just need the secondary to step up, and they really need this linebacking core of Alex Afari and David Rayner to step up to help them out too.
Yeah, I mean, just want to throw that in there with you too. You brought up Cutter Bully with the way they've been playing, and we were down there in the press area after the game. We got here from Cutter Bully himself. I don't know about you, but I was getting positive vibes from him. Yeah, I know he was kind of down in the dumps because they had just lost, but the way he was talking about his team and the way he played. First of all, I will say I came into the season saying that, hey, I think Zach Calzada should be starting all year. I think Cutter kind of won me over in this last game, first of all. Second of all, the way he spoke in confidence with his teammates around him, how they played today, or excuse me, played on Saturday. I feel positive about how the game plan is going to go for the next couple weeks here. Hopefully they can keep that momentum going in the passing game, and I'll also include that with a little bit of Seth McGowan on the side to keep this offense going, fast and efficient. Hopefully we don't go down 21 points too, because that I'm sure that definitely doesn't help, but we can get some points on the board early. I feel like that would actually help our team out a lot.
Yeah, and so far, like I mentioned, scripted drives so far we've been great at this year. Obviously, this week that wasn't the same thing. I mean, it didn't work out that well. We got 1 first down and then had to punt. But I mean, I'm not going to say that Texas is, I feel good about the Texas game because obviously the way this team's been playing. But you did just see them lose to a bad Florida team. Now, granted, that Florida's defense is ridiculous, and it is for real. But that Texas game does look a lot more feasible to go out there and stay competitive and potentially win than it did 3-4 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's funny. I think we had a very similar conversation about South Carolina right before that game.
We'll do this week in, week out for the rest of the year.
I've gotten drugged back in a few times this year, but I don't see it. Like, Tyler just used the word confidence regarding potentially really anything with this team. I have no confidence. Like, I think the rest of the season for me is just going to be trying to evaluate some of these young guys, see if Cutter looks like he could potentially be the quarterback of the future. Because, like, I don't know about you guys, but like, I don't see this season ending with anything more than 4 wins.
Yeah, I'm there with you, but I also, we can be negative all we want. At the end of the day, we're going to be sitting here watching these games, so I might as well come in at least with a blueprint in my head of like, hey, listen, if this goes well and this goes well, and we force 3 turnovers and we score on 2 of them, and
Yeah.
then we can start to win some of these games. But no, I think it's more just an indictment on how Texas and Arch Manning have played so far this year. Again, I'm not predicting anything because we still have another full 2 weeks. We don't even know who's all going to be healthy. Like, is DJ Waller finally going to play? I feel like he's missed literally 50% of all of his time at Kentucky. But when he's out on the field, he does great things. And then will Seth McGowan be healthy? I don't know. We'll see. I hope so. I mean, I don't know if you saw it, Jacob. It was floating around on X. Looked like there was a picture of him sleeping. I don't know if he was just his eyes closed and it was a bad timing, but he was like leaned up against the bench with his eyes closed like this. It kind of looked like he was sleeping. I really hope that's not the truth, but
How
It
many?
wouldn't be
How
the
many
worst thing
more?
we've seen a guy
I
getting
was about to
concessions
say.
at halftime.
That's what I was
So
about to say. How many more weeks before we start having players go to the concession stand during the game? I
I'll tell
mean,
you what,
we're not. We're,
if I'm credentialed for it, none of them. None of them. I will not allow it. I'll go bring them a hot dog if they need it. But guys, I mean, any big takeaways, anything else you want to get off your chest before this game, before we move on? Because guess what? Of course, all the Big Blue Nation's gonna be talking about it Saturday. Jake, what is Saturday?
Big Blue Madness, baby.
Big
We
Blue Madness, and guys like you are my biggest enemy around this time of year because you fully just turn the sheet over and it's just all basketball season. But listen,
I
obviously,
don't want to be here, Cam. I don't want to be in that boat. It's just I think you guys can hear it in my voice this week. Like I was not
listen,
excited to come on here and talk about it. Like I said, Saturday. Now don't get me wrong. I was very hungover from Friday night, but like I still had no motivation to like even flip the TV on. It was like I was like, oh, I guess it's noon. I guess I'll turn it on and watch it. But like that's how I feel like every game might be.
I need your energy down in Athens. I was trying to get Cam out here, and he was being Debbie Downer. Only focus on Saturday. He wouldn't go out. He wouldn't do anything on Friday night.
I have a
I did.
job to do. I am now credentialed media, and I've got to take that fully serious.
I did enough for all three of us on.
I
Yeah, you
appreciate it.
usually do, and to do that, you do it well. But Jake, big question here. Does anybody care the rest of this football season? Is there anything? Obviously, we do it week in, week out. What does this staff have to do to buy some fan buy-in
No, there's
outside of what beating Texas this next week? Even then, you're still talking about you're fully into basketball season. So I think they've lost the ability to probably get any fan buy-in that they could. And at this point, unfortunately, I think it is just basketball season, and we see it from our ratings. Everything we do that's basketball related quadrupled, if not five times, the ratings and likes and everything like that. So, as much as I love pushing the Kentucky football wagon and trying to get everybody aboard, at some point I've just got to accept the fate is what it is too. And Saturday's Big Blue Madness.
Hey, as the great Al Davis once said, "Just win, baby." That's the best way to get the fans back re-engaged. I think
does it seriously. Like even if they come out and beat Texas, I don't think there will be a ton of positivity unless they found a way to string three or four of them together.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. It's not going to be one win, two win. You're talking about you have to win some big games here down the stretch because we already know they're going to. Well, hopefully, knock on wood, they're going to be Tennessee Tech. But if they can win some of those games that we all said that were going to be losses in the offseason here, they can get some of those wins, get them back into a bowl picture. Fans can start chirping again. But to your point, obviously the focus is going to start shifting over to basketball anyway. So it's going to take a lot, and it's going to be winning these next few games to even get the fan base remotely interested back in football, especially going down the stretch when we go play Louisville to finish up the year.
Cam,
And
I'll
it's
tell you, I'll answer your question. I don't think there's anything they can do, and in part that's on the staff for not just the on the field stuff. It's all the off season stuff, and all the things we've complained about for months now and back to last year. Like I genuinely do not believe there's one thing that Kentucky can do where people are going to be excited and get excited going into, let's say, next year. Let's say they do find a way to go steal a few wins and finish this thing 5-7. Like who's going to be excited to like have this staff or Mark Stoops with the 10th new OC coming back? Like nobody. There's not going to be anything, and they're also like kind of screwed by the fact like we play Louisville and Michigan State so early this year in basketball, but like
Purdue, Georgetown as exhibitions. I mean,
the attention is all going to be on basketball, and I mean even like if the basketball team wasn't that great and like Cal was here, I still think people would for the most part just check out. We're fans. People will get up and watch the games on Saturday, but it's there's not going to be an excitement or buzz around here really until there's a new staff in place. I think that's the only way to get this, very similar to the Calipari end. Like there wasn't anything that he could have done or that team could have done outside of going and winning and making it to a Final Four the year they lost to Oakland. Like after that, there was nothing they could do. There's nothing I don't think this football staff can do, and to get a energy, inject it back into this fan base for football, I don't think it comes until after the season and there's potentially a new coach.
Yeah, and I'm unfortunately in full lockstep with you. I mean, just think about it just from like Lexington, just being a common person in Lexington. So this week, of course, you've got the bye week. Big Blue Madness starts. That's obviously going to take a lot of hype for this team to the next level. People are going to learn a lot about these guys. Jake, I know I sent you the BBN United, like the little fan fest that they're doing before Big Blue Madness. That's going to get a lot of people excited. And then next week, you have Texas versus Kentucky. I mean, guys, tell me here, would you rather be at that Texas Kentucky game or would you rather go to Keeneland? Keeneland
Keeneland,
is also on
no
that
doubt.
Saturday. I mean, think about all the things that Lexington's providing right now. That following week against Tennessee when you play at home. Guess what? Kentucky plays, that's when they play their exhibition against Purdue. And then the week after, when they play Auburn, they play their exhibition against Georgetown. I mean, which one's going to turn more clicks? Who's going to be paying more attention to what? Obviously, all eyes are going to be on this basketball team going forward. And we're going to cover you for it. Obviously, Jake and I, the resident basketball guys, we're slowly bringing Tyler back in.
Hey,
And
hey!
Jake,
I was right about Trent Noah so
I
far.
know. Give me a second, will you? I was just about to give you credit, but I'm not going to anymore. So, Jake, I'm going to go back to you as our residential basketball guy. This guy jumped the gun like he always does. I've heard it from people are talking. People are saying he jumps the gun early. He just did there. I was going to give him a compliment and say, of all of his takes, all of the terrible ones, it's like 99% terrible, 1% good. He did say Trent Noah was going to be a good player. And you and I both kind of looked at him that first time. And we were like, I don't know, man. I hope so. Kentucky kid, but he's a 3-star guy who had originally committed to South Carolina. We weren't sure if it was going to be there. And I was going to give him his credit and his due props. But since he wanted to jump the gun and try and parade himself, I am now going to take that away.
Real quick though, I'm so excited for basketball season. Like you can hear how my voice and tone changed from where we were talking about football to now. But yeah, I'm giddy for basketball season. I can't wait to see how this team moves in year 2 of Pope, and yeah, I can't wait for Big Blue Madness on Saturday, and then get us into mid-November where we can really get the ball rolling here.
Yeah, I mean, how could you not be excited about what this basketball program is building? Obviously, last year was a resounding success. Big Blue Nation loved that team. They created a big bond with that team. Jake, you and I mentioned just personally, that's one of our favorite teams in so much time. We mentioned, Amari tearing up on the sidelines. That loss against Tennessee almost had me crying.
I
I
know
mean,
what. Don't bring it up.
exactly. That's where I'm at. And I think this team is already starting to see some of that with these guys, especially after media day yesterday. All those videos that are getting
Great
out.
personalities.
Yeah, everybody seems to be such likable guys. You have returners, obviously the staff. It's their second year; they feel comfortable in Lexington, and all things are pointing Big Blue, at least on the basketball court. And I am with you. I'm very excited. And one other thing that's kind of pointing in Big Blue Nation's direction, Tyron Stokes
Yeah.
pointing in
It,
Big
it,
Blue.
it's gonna be a lot of people are saying it's gonna be Kentucky. Even
People are saying. People are saying.
even some other schools might be saying that they're hearing it's Kentucky. So that
Yeah,
would
I've heard some rumors that the University of Louisville has kind of withdrew
oh my
themselves because of
god.
personality conflicts with Tyron Stokes. You know what?
There's,
All
there's
I'm saying
not there,
is, have you seen
there's
that video of the old guy that's at the batting cage and he's just sitting there and he's just taking hacks like a sword and he's missing everything? That's Pat Kelsey on in-state recruits. Imagine having Taylor Kinney in your backyard, an Adidas guy, an hour and a half
ready
up
to
the
go to
road,
an Adidas school
and
and you
you let
can't.
him go to Kansas. And then not only do you let him go to Kansas, Tyron Stokes, who is from from Louisville, and talks about how that's his city and that's his team, and you're potentially not going to get him either. I mean, come on, Pat Kelsey, what are you doing?
I the Louisville fans are the most delusional people out there, and I say that as a Cincinnati Bengals fan that has heard Zach Taylor say he's got all the confidence in the world in Jake Browning. So
Well,
I mean
you need to put your own hand up for
the
that one.
the levels of delusion here. But like it's so funny now, like that's all over Louisville Twitter is Kelsey culture and Louisville culture and it didn't fit the culture. Like, oh my god, I can't wait to play them in basketball. And I can't wait for Stokes to commit here. And I mean, little brother, they'll be little brother forever, but they have turned into the most delusional fan base, and I can't wait for 3 to 4 years from now when they're just an average program for the whole time Pat Kelsey's been there, and their fans are starting to try to figure out, do you keep him or do you let him go? Because that's what's going to happen. They're going to be 5 years into it, one Sweet 16 appearance, a year where they missed the tournament, and they're going to be like, he's okay. He's the best we've had since, Chris Mack. So I guess we'll just keep rolling with it. So I can't wait.
Yeah,
Remember all the Mark Pope whiffs and this and that.
Yep.
We're just stacking chips, baby.
Look how the tables have turned. Look who's now whiffing out there. All I'm saying is, Big Blue Madness especially is a huge recruiting weekend for the University of Kentucky. Darren Rippey Jr. is going to be on campus. Caleb Holt just canceled some of his visits that he had scheduled and will be at Big Blue Madness as well. It's going to be a big weekend. Tyler and I will be in attendance for Big Blue Madness. I don't know if that's going to be media credentialed yet or not. Still waiting on the University of Kentucky to get back to us on that. If I had to guess, I'm going to say a big hard no. But we will have you covered either way because we will be there in attendance. We'll be with a couple other people that we know. Jake, you know him well too. He will be there in attendance. So I'll have to get some of his takes because, he's got some of the best takes around.
He's actually going to be there, getting live takes.
Yeah. I'm so glad I have plans Saturday night.
He's got to go bowling to go Big Blue Madness.
All right, BB, and that's going to be it for this episode of the Cats Talk podcast. We will have a basketball episode coming up here for you soon to get us ready for Big Blue Madness and for the season to start to kick off because, like we mentioned, looks like everybody's starting to turn the page from the football team to this basketball team. But stay with us. We've got you covered as a credentialed media outlet of the University of Georgia, at least. Maybe the University of Kentucky coming soon. So with that being said, guys, go Big Blue. Enjoy Big Blue Madness in Keeneland this week.
Go Big Blue.